What is up, guys, and welcome to my Frost Death Knight guide for PvP. We're going to be going over our talents, our burst rotation, our gear, basically everything you can imagine you need to know about Frost Death Knight in PvP. I hope you enjoyed today's video. This is based on 10.0.7's patch, so if this is 10.1 when you see this video, just know that this may be a little outdated. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I'll see you soon. So let's get into talents, guys. Looking at the Death Knight side of our tree here, this is basically like a cleave-based build, and the reason I go this build currently is because I'm not going to be required to use Wraithwalk or March of Darkness. I also don't really need Acclamation, and the reason why I don't play any of those is because I'm going to be playing with a Ret Paladin come 10.0.7. Most of the time I play with an Invoker, but for right now, we're playing with a Ret Paladin, and so I don't think I need Wraithwalk, and I don't think I need March of Darkness, because I'll have Freedom instead, which is incredibly strong for a Death Knight. But the way the cleave build works, basically, we take cleaving strikes, we get sacrificial packs. Some people play Enfeeble. I don't think it's necessary, because most of the time you're not going to have your ghoul up. And if anything, you're going to be using your ghoul to sack pack, which is great, because you get an extra 25% of your health on a 2-minute cooldown, which shares the cooldown with Raised Dead. I'll go over in macros how to make that instantly apply. We also get Brittle. Now this makes our disease, which is our Frost Fever. It causes that to increase our damage every now and then by 6%, which actually is quite big for Frost DK, because our obliterates can hit for like 100 to 120k. And when you're doing 120k, an extra 6% is like 10k damage. So, you know, every now and then that's pretty nice. It's a pretty nice extra buff. But really, the bread and butter of this build is the cleaving strikes here. Obliterate hits up to an additional 2 targets while you remain in your Death and Decay. Now, the nice part about this is a lot of times when we do our grip setup, which I'll also explain, you're going to be hitting multiple targets for 100k every 2 globals, sometimes every global, especially with the way in 10.0.7, the way Fatal Fixation works, because our Killing Machine can stack up to 2 times. So I'm going to be showing you guys all this. Don't worry about it. But just know, this build does a ridiculous amount of area of effect damage. We do take Blinding Sleet, super important. We take Anti-Magic Shell. AMS is just a key ability for Death Knights in PvP. If you don't have AMS, you're basically just losing out on like your main defensive. We definitely take Improved Death Strike. We take Anti-Magic Barrier. Veteran of the Third War. We don't worry about Suppression. We don't worry about Blood Scent. Some people are taking these. I don't think it's necessary. Gloom Ward can be really good versus magic teams specifically, because when you're playing Gloom Ward, it affects your anti-magic shell, obviously. So versus like Mage, you know, Warlock or Elemental Shaman, this is a really good ability to have. And so a lot of the times I take off Proliferating Chill for Gloom Ward. But you know, you can decide between which one you prefer yourself, and the way you would do that is, you know, you just take 1 point here and go like that. Nice and simple. You take Gloom Ward, and this is basically the same exact build, but you're going to be using this version versus casters, or wizard cleaves as people call them. I do take Death's Reach. This increases the range of Death Grip, and that's basically the only reason why we take this, because Grip of Death is actually pretty good considering we're playing a Death and Decay build, and I've been considering it versus melee cleaves because a lot of times I don't need this massive amount of range. So something to consider, maybe versus like TSG or Ret Warrior, comps like that. You might want to take this Death and Decay that slows people, because if you slam down a Death and Decay, they're super stuck in it, super slow, almost rooted even, but they're not. And then you can grip them into it and do a ridiculous amount of area of effect damage with your obliterates. Very nice to have that. But for right now, I've been playing Death's Reach, and the reason being is I just really enjoy having the extra 10 yards of range. 40-yard range on Death Grip is super good. Most of our abilities have like a 20-yard range, so having something that can grip people into that range is really important for us. Moving on though, we take Runic Attenuation, and the reason why is we want to go Insidious Chill, Icy Talons, and Empower Rune Weapon. We don't want to take Blood Draw. This really isn't that important. It's like maybe I don't know, like a 4% or like 1% health heal when you fall below 30% health, and it can only occur every 3 minutes. It's really bad. This talent is absolutely awful. So you're kind of nerfing yourself if you take this, especially because you're most likely to drown 2 points into it. Super unneeded. Instead, we take Will of the Necropolis. This is a super good ability, but you'll note that in PvP, I believe the damage taken below 30% health is actually only like 20%. I might be wrong in that, but I'm pretty sure it's only 20% in PvP. Still really, really good. I've also been dabbling a little bit with Unholy Endurance. Now, this makes it so that when we Lichborn, we take less damage on top of it lasting longer, and obviously Lichborn gives us 10% leech, so it makes it a pretty solid defensive. But most of the time I'm using Lichborn to get out of fears and stuff instead of, I use Lichborn aggressively a lot of the time to make myself immune to crowd control. And so this is like kind of anti-talent to that. It's very defensive. But at the same right, as a defensive, this is really good. So I've been messing around with that a little bit as well. And the way I would go about doing that is I would probably take my point from anti-magic barrier and put it into Unholy Endurance. So I might take anti-magic barrier off and go Unholy Endurance. And the reason being is, but versus comps like KFC, which is Warrior, Beastmaster Hunter, or Marksmanship Hunter, Unholy Endurance is actually probably really good, considering the fact that you can stack, that 15% damage reduction with something like Will of the Necropolis when you're low in health, or even Icebound Fortitude. Most of the time, you're not going to want to be stacking cooldowns like that, but it could come in clutch, and it can make you very tanky versus those physical damage compositions. But anything other than physical damage compositions, you're going to want to be going anti-magic barrier. So that's basically it for our Death Knight side of the tree. Another nice little thing about the cleave build here is most of the time when we're standing in our Death and Decay, we have 5% extra haste, which is a little bit, but it's actually really good. It makes our globals fast, and we definitely 100% need to take Death's Echo. This makes our Death Grip have 2 charges, as well as our Death Advance and Death and Decay. Just everything about this talent matches our build perfectly. Need to take Death's Echo, for sure. Asphyxiate, I've also been on and off about taking now, but come 10.1, it's going to be nerfed a lot, so I'm going to try to get as much use as possible in 10.0.7. Yeah, so that is basically the normal Death Knight side of the tree. Blinding Sleet, super important. Sorry, forgot to mention that. Blinding Sleet, massively important for our build, and I'll show you exactly how to use it and how you get the most value out of this ability. Note it has a minute cooldown, which matches perfectly with our Pillar of Frost, so I'll go over that in a second. Looking over into our Frost Death Knight side of the tree here, obviously we take things like Frost Strike, Obliterate, Howling Blast, Killing Machine, Rhyme, all very standard Frost Death Knight things. If you don't know how Killing Machine works, basically when you auto attack and it critical strikes, you basically have like a 100% chance. It's a really high percent chance. I think there's a talent down here that makes it very high percent chance that you'll get Killing Machine, which makes your Obliterate deal frost damage now and critically strike 100% of the time. There used to be a talent called Frost Reaper that got replaced by Fatal Fixation in 10.0.7, but Frost Reaper basically made it so that when you got Killing Machine procs, your Obliterate did frost damage, which is super strong, considering the fact that our Mastery increases our damage, our frost damage. And if it does physical damage, it does a lot less, but when it does frost damage, we get that frost mastery benefit, so our massive amount of damage from our Obliterates and Killing Machine procs. Now, looking at Rhyme, the way Rhyme works, when we Obliterate, there's like almost a 50% chance, basically, that our next Howling Blast is going to do a massive amount of damage, consume no runes at all. The only problem with it is when you don't consume runes at all, you don't gain runic power, so that's something to note too. But make sure your Howling Blast do a ridiculous amount of damage, which has great synergy with Icebreaker. So Icebreaker just makes you do a ridiculous amount more damage with your Howling Blast, which we are able to take now that we are in 10.0.7. Most people were taking this before then, but I take it 100% now at the time. Moving down the tree here, Biting Cold. It's almost necessary because we have to go improve Rhyme, which is another buff to Rhyme. So Icebreaker, Improve Rhyme, and Rhyme all synergize well to each other. Basically makes our Howling Blast hit super hard. I mean, you're talking like, 50 to 60k crits, which is really nice for just a random proc. But we need Chill Streak. Chill Streak is so important. Super, I would borderline say it's overpowered. It's really good. It does a ridiculous amount of frost damage, bounces between people so it cleaves. And the nice part is we take Enduring Chill, so it actually bounces up to most times like 10 to 12 times. It bounces quite a bit, and each time it bounces, most of the time I'm using Enduring Pillars of Frost, so most of the time Chill Streak is doing anywhere from 30 to 50k damage each time it hits. when it does 50k damage times 11, I mean, you're doing 500k damage with a single button press. It's kind of a no-brainer. We don't take Piercing Chill. It's really good, but Piercing Chill limits its use down to 9 times. And if you think about it, if you get more bounces out of it, you actually do way more damage with Enduring Chill, which is really good. So more bounces, the better. Piercing Chill is good, has its uses, but realistically, we want to be going Enduring Chill. Now looking on the left-hand side of the tree here, we take our Obliterate talents. We do not take Glacial Advance, not necessary. It's not terrible. It's really good in PvE because it applies Razor Ice to an AoE, which is really good, but we don't need it. We do take our Improved Frost Strike as well. Sorry, forgot to mention that. We do take Frigid Executioner, super, super good. The 15% chance to refund runes is crazy strong because Frost DKs use a lot of runes. You know, you think Howling Blast you're going to be using, Remorseless Winter you're going to be using, Chill Streak we're going to be using. Basically, all of those require runes as well as Obliterate. So you're going to be using a lot of runes. So getting runes back on your Obliterate just has a massive, massive importance. Also, Obliterate deals 15% increased damage. This stacks with our beautiful mastery, so we just do a truckload of damage with our Obliterates. Consuming a Killing Machine effect has a 50% chance to grant me 1 rune. So basically, if my if my Obliterate triggers the thing where it refunds 2 runes, and it's used with a Killing Machine, there's a 50% chance that I actually gain a rune when I'm using a Killing Machine proc Obliterate, which is kind of funny. So like I'll go from having, you know, say 4 runes to having 5 after pressing Obliterate, which is kind of crazy. Fatal Fixation, super good. Killing Machine can stack up to like 2 times, basically stack up to 1 additional time. So you can have 2 Killing Machine procs, which works in great synergy with our set bonus here. Obliterate and Frost Scythe have a 15% chance to not consume Killing Machine. So when I have 2 of them back to back, it's basically like a 30% chance that it doesn't consume. And so I use 1, I use another one. If I happen to not consume the Killing Machine proc, I use a 3rd one. So that means I can do 3. I can get up to 4 procs by chance, just luckily, back to back of like 100k crits, basically. So massive, massive amount of damage. I mean, I'm talking 400k and 4 globals type damage, if not more by far. I mean, I've seen Obliterate hit for 140k, no problem. So this talent, Fatal Fixation, works super, super well with our set bonus right now. And we're going to be focusing on that. We do take Frostwhelp's Aid. Now, this is a really, really crucial ability in PvP, and it's crucial you understand how to use it. Basically, as easy as it sounds, Pillar Frost summons a Frostwhelp, which breathes frost on our enemies. It's kind of like a mini Frostworm's Fury, or it's exactly a mini Frostworm's Fury, really. But each time a unique hit is done by it, you get 8% mastery. Now, this is huge for our Pillar of Frost, massive. So, and if you only hit 1 person with this, it's not bad, 8%. But if you hit 3 or you hit pets, so like a Demonology Warlock, you can get up to 40% extra mastery. Now, 40% extra mastery is 40% increased damage for our Obliterates. So I can go from hitting 100k Obliterates to, 140k, even higher. I've seen, you realistically versus a Demonology Warlock, you could probably hit like 160k Obliterates because of this one talent alone. It's a massive, massive buff, but you have to hit multiple things with it. So realistically, when you go to press your pillar, you want to be facing as many enemies as possible, and I'm going to show that as well in our burst rotation. I'll show you guys how that works and how that benefits you to be attacking as many things as possible. But also, Frostwhelp's Aid leads into our second Empower Rune weapon, which stacks. We get 2 stacks of it, which means that every minute we're going to be able to use an Empower Rune weapon, because if you use 1 per minute, it recharges in time for the second one, and then the 3rd one, and then the 4th. So they just keep recycling. So every minute, if you're only using 1 of the Empower Rune weapons, you will get a 1 minute go, which is really, really strong. It works in sync with our Pillar of Frost. So every single time we Pillar of Frost, we're able to Empower Rune weapon. Really, really overpowered. Crazy amount of burst potential. So very strong. And I'll also show you how to macro that as well. We take Bone Grinder. Bone Grinder is just needed really to get to Obliteration, but it is really important that it's super good, because when it stacks up to 5 times, your next Killing Machine consumed increases your frost damage by 20%. And again, so does our mastery. So this stacks with our mastery. So that 140k Obliterate, if you have this proc, this Bone Grinder proc, now does, 160k, 180k. It does a ridiculous amount of damage, all because of just a proc. So you have to keep track of your procs, and I'll show you guys how to do that as well. We take Cold-Blooded Rage. The reason why we take Cold-Blooded Rage is really to get obliteration, but Frost Strike having a 20% chance on crits to grant Killing Machine is really good because this stacks with our auto attacks doing it, so we can just generate a bunch of Killing Machines. And the reason why we want to generate Killing Machines, again, is because Killing Machine makes our Obliterate deal frost damage, and the more times we can get that to proc, the better. Also, it stacks up to 2 times again now, so you can just do a ridiculous amount of damage. We do take Avalanche, which is like a spike off of Empower Rune Weapon. Basically, every single time we Howling Blast with Rhyme, it causes an Icicle. Now, that's the minor part. This is the Icicle that falls. What's really, really important here is it applies Razor Ice. And Razor Ice increases our frost damage done to the target by, I believe, 4% per stack, and it stacks up to 5 times, so it should be another 20% frost damage, which in turn stacks with Bone Grinder, stacks with Frostwhelp's Aid, and basically just stacking a ridiculous amount of frost damage multipliers so that your Obliterates, when you have Killing Machine, do a truckload of damage. I mean, massive damage, and so does our Howling Blast, because we have so many Howling Blast modifiers here as well. So realistically, we're just trucking, 80k to 120k, 80k to 100. It becomes really hard to heal through when we're popping bursts like that. Now, to end off our tree, I do take Frostworm's Fury, and I take Absolute Zero. The only reason I take these is because of the comps I play. Now, I play Evoker, like Devoker, Frost Death Knight, and I also play with a Rep Paladin. And because I take Frostworm's Fury, this allows me to set up our targets by gripping in a focus target, Frostworm Furying over them, and now they're stuck in my go, which will be Death and Decay, and I'll be cleaving them both for massive amounts of damage. So instead of doing a bunch of single target damage, which Frost excels at, now I'm doing it between 2 targets, and they're stuck there, and if they're forced to Trinket, then they get stuck in a Silence, or they'll get stuck in my Remorseless Winter Stun. I mean, it's a ridiculous amount of micro CC, which is what Blizzard's trying to prevent, but in turn they accidentally made it better, especially in this next patch. So I don't know what Blizzard's doing anymore, but you know what I mean? I'm going to take it. I'm going to go for it. So yeah, I grip as many people as possible into Frostworm's Fury, do a massive amount of damage. If they Trinket, they either get blinded by Blinding Sleet, they get strangulated, and then they'll get stunned by Dead of Winter, and realistically, it's lights out for most teams. It's really hard to deal with a Frost Death Knight's damage, especially because it's every minute. And so if you can line up your damage every minute properly, they won't have cooldowns for your second go or your third go, and by the third go, you should have a kill, which means by the 2-minute mark in a game, or like 2 minutes and 30 seconds realistically, you should get a kill 90% of the time as a Frost DK, if not sooner before then. Let's move right into our PvP talents. So moving into our PvP talents here, guys, I take Necrotic Aura. Now, Necrotic Aura, I do swap out for Spell Warden, and it depends on the composition I'm fighting. Again, if I'm fighting that, like a Warlock and a Mage, for instance, or a Warlock and an Elemental Shaman, something like that. Even an Enhancement Shaman, Spell Warden is really good, because a lot of the times you're taking spell damage, you're going to get a huge absorption off of that, and that absorption does get affected by Gloom Ward, which, like I said, when we're fighting those compositions, I'm taking off Proliferating Chill and going Gloom Ward, and it has massive synergy with Spell Warden. You get like 100k absorbs randomly when they're hitting you. Super strong. Very good ability, but for the meta game, when I'm playing versus like Cleaves and stuff like that, I'll be taking Necrotic Aura. Now what this does is it makes them take 8% more damage from me, because a lot of my damage is frost damage, which counts as magic damage, but they're also going to take 8% increased damage from my allies, like my Devoker friend, who wants to Deep Breath over them or Fire Breath them, 8% increased damage. Also my my Retribution Paladin friend, when a Retribution Paladin pops their cooldowns, they're doing mainly holy damage. Sometimes they'll do holy strike damage, which is physical damage, but if they're doing holy damage, it gets increased by Necrotic Aura. Super good abilities. Another couple of important PvP talents to mention. Death Chill, super good. Every time I Remorseless Winter, I root everybody in place around me for 4 seconds. This is really good defensively. you'd think, okay, aggressively, this is nice. It keeps people in your Remorseless Winter. Realistically, you're going to be using this to kite because of the Chains of Ice proc here. So if you Chains of Ice somebody and they're affected by Chains of Ice, if you Chains of Ice them again, they're rooted for 4 seconds. Then you can Chains of Ice them again, 2 seconds. Then Chains of Ice them again, 1 second. So for 7 seconds, every 20 seconds or so, you can spam 7 seconds worth of root onto like a warrior or, anything, a hunter pet, which works crazy in sync with proliferating chill, as your Chains of Ice affects 2 targets. So you can root 2 targets for a massive amount of time. This is super, super low-key overpowered, but not a lot of people know about it or do it. But it is really good versus warriors, and it drives people insane. If you're playing Demon Hunter, Warrior, Rogue, Windwalker Monk, roots are so annoying to deal with. So super good ability, something to note. Take note. Death Chill is really good versus those comps. I won't say much more about it because I don't want it to get nerfed. Dark Simulacrum, nobody takes it anymore, and I don't know why. I think it's low-key really good. You can steal things like Polymorph, Fear. You can even low-key like steal a Dispersion or like a Bubble. Like really good abilities with this ability. It just takes a little bit of skill. You just really have to understand how to use it. So Dark Simulacrum, really good. But you have to practice it because otherwise you're going to steal something like a Shadow Word Pain or a Ice Lance or something like that. That will do nothing for you. Dark Simulacrum, super good. Practice it. Try it out. See how you feel. But most of the time you're fighting against casters anyways. You're going to be playing Spell Warden, like I said. And the other 2 talents are just too good to give up. Strangulate is almost a must-take at this point. Having a Silence is just crazy, crazy strong. Especially in this metagame, like any micro CC that isn't on a stun DR, crazy broken. I mean, you're talking, you can stun something for like 5 seconds if they trinket it into a 4-second silence. You can kill most healers this way, by the way. It's really broken. It's really good. I keep saying broken, but really it's not that broken. It's just so exciting because Frost Death Knight is so crazy right now. Dead of Winter, really good. Make sure Remorseless Winter a long cooldown. But if you're gripping and keeping people in your Remorseless Winter, they'll get stunned for 4 seconds. Now, the really easy way to keep people in your Remorseless Winter is to Remorseless Winter, grip people into you, and then stun them. And then by the time the stun is over, so like Frostworm's Fury, for instance, they'll get Remorseless Winter stunned again. A lot of times what happens is people will trinket Frostworm's Fury, and then they'll get silenced, and they'll be still in my Remorseless Winter, and then they'll get stunned for 2 seconds, and that micro CC, they'll die. It happens all the time. Crazy good, crazy strong ability, but again, it makes our Remorseless Winter a 45-second cooldown instead of a 20-second cooldown. But Remorseless Winter really doesn't do that much damage, even with the Biting Cold buff that we've gotten. It's just not that worth. Realistically, the stun is way more worth it. Also, just stunning pets is crazy because this is like an AoE stun and it has no cap. So, Demonology Warlocks, if you have Remorseless Winter procced, all their pets get stunned for 4 seconds. Really strong, really broken, really good. Feels really good. Death Chill works really well with this talent too. So if you want to run Death Chill and Dead of Winter, you can root them into your stun. Pretty good. Another great PvP talent, Bitter Chill. When you Chains of Ice, you reduce the target's haste, and every single time you Frost Strike, it refreshes the duration to Chains of Ice. Now, Chains of Ice is the strongest slow in the game by far. It's a 30-yard range, and it's 70% slow. Most slows are 50%, but it's a 70% slow. And like I said, with Proliferating Chill, you AoE your Chains of Ice, so having 2 targets with Bitter Chill on them is kind of crazy. 8% reduced haste. Some builds are like Mastery Verse or crit verse builds or something like that. Their haste will go so low that they're like negative and they cast really, really slow. So it's a great counter to most classes that require to have a lot of globals being pushed out because you're slowing their globals by reducing their haste. Super good. I just don't take it that often though. I'll have to practice it a little bit more. I haven't used it a lot, but I do know it has its benefits and it can work very well just because haste is such an important stat right now. There's just so many good options for Death Knights though. So everything except for Rot and Wither was just really garbage because most of the time people aren't standing in your Death and Decay except for when you're attacking them. And when you're attacking them, they're the last thing they're really like. The absorption healing with the damage dealt, it's like 2k every second. So like it's like a total of 10k absorbed. Really, it's like a a Riptide will overheal this Rotten Wither tick, no problem. And Delirium I don't take. It's just kind of useless here. Reduces the cooldown recovery rate of movement speed enhancing abilities specifically. Most people aren't using movement speed. I mean, like enhancing abilities. I mean, charge doesn't count as this. Fell rush doesn't count as this. Roll doesn't count as this. This is really just applies to like sprint, spirit walk, tiger's lust maybe, stuff like that. So this really doesn't matter because you could just run death chill and root them and be way better off. So delirium's garbage. Shroud of Winter, also pretty garbage. Enemies within 8 yards of you become shrouded in winter, reducing the range of their spells and abilities by 30%. Now, this is bad because most of the time people are going you as a Frost Death Knight. It depends on the composition you're playing, obviously, but you're within 8 yards of them anyways, so what does it matter if the range of their spells is 30% reduced? They're still going to hit you anyways. It's a little nice versus mages because then they can't poly your healer if your healer's playing at max range, but with that being said, Spell Warden is almost a necessity versus mage, and I would make an argument that Dark Simulacrum is just better than Shroud of Winter because you can just steal Polymorph, poly their healer, and continue your pressure on. So, you could do that kind of stuff. Realistically, Dark Simulacrum and Spell Warden are just infinitely better than Shroud of Winter. Yeah, so this is basically what I run. Most of the time I'm running Necrotic Aura, Dead of Winter, Strangulate, or I'm running Spell Warden or Death Chill, because Death Chill is just crazy, crazy broken verse. Again, Havoc, Demon Hunters, Rogues, and Warriors. So that is our PvP talents, guys. Now let's move into our burst rotation. Alright, so starting into our burst rotation here, we're going to be hitting a PvP training dummy. So to give you an idea on what I look for when I'm playing Frost Death Knight is a lot of the times, if I run out of ruins or I run out of anything, I'm spamming Frost Strike because it'll give me Runic Empowerment, which gives me Rune back. Super important. I want to be using my Obliterate procs as frequently as possible, but realistically when I'm going to burst, I'm going to want to use my, if I get a Killing Machine proc, for instance, I'm going to want to stack it. So now, because of the way Fatal Fixation works, you're going to want to get your Razor Ice to stack up to 5 times. If you can get it to stack up to 5 times, super, super good, super important, because when you get it to stack up to 5 times, you're going to be doing up to 15% more damage, and that 15% more damage applies to your Obliterates, which is crazy, crazy strong, considering the fact that your Obliterates are doing frost damage. So, here we are again. I have a beautiful burst window here, Remorseless Winter. Pop my Icy Veins, or my Icy Veins, my Pillar of Frost. Massive, massive damage here. You can see just hitting 120Ks back to back, 126K, 80K, 140K, 181K. Disgusting damage there, guys. Look at this. 181K. Absolutely insane. So you just want to be slamming people for as much damage as possible, and all you're doing is rotating Obliterate to Frost Strike, Obliterate to Howling Blast, depending on if you have a proc or not. If you have a proc of Howling Blast, it is more important to spam Howling Blast than Frost Strike, because when you Frost Strike, when you Howling Blast, again, you're restacking your Razor Ice, and your Howling Blast does more damage than Frost Strike because of Icebreaker and because of Improved Rhyme. It just does more damage flat out. Actually, you can see here, Howling Blast crit for 87K, whereas my Frost Strike crit for 46K. So it's almost double the damage just based on that alone. Another crucial part about fighting as Death Knight is, like I said before, because we play Frostwhelp's Aid, when you pop your burst cooldowns, you're going to want to be facing as many targets as possible, and this will increase your damage substantially. So we're going to stack up our Razor Ice again, and I'm going to show you guys how to kind of utilize that. Alright, so now that we got our Razor Ice stacked up, we're going to pop Burst, but this time we're going to be facing the other PvP dummies here. So let's pop Burst here, press our Obliterates, and you'll see my Obliterates are going to be hitting way harder this go around. You can see 160K already, 170K. Let's get that last one in there, 150K. Pretty juicy damage during our burst windows there. And the reason being is my Frostwhelp's Aid hits all these cleave dummies here. You can see here, where is it? Frostwhelp's Aid. In one cast, hit a bunch of things. But by doing that, again, you're increasing your mastery by a bunch, which in turn makes your Obliterates hit for a ridiculous amount. So yeah, that's basically our burst rotation. You're going to be spamming Frost Strike or Obliterate when you get your procs. If you don't have a proc, you're spamming Frost Strike. If you do have a proc of Howling Blast, you use Howling Blast, then Obliterate, and back and forth. So every second global should be an Obliterate, or it should be every global depending on if you get Obliterate procs, which make it so that you don't consume Killing Machine. And you'll notice the procs happen kind of frequently actually, which is kind of nice. So let's see here if we can get one to proc. Of course, it's just never going to proc. Okay, so we got a proc here, so let's see. So that one gave me one back, and that one did not. So you can see every single time I go to Obliterate, I'll get an Obliterate again. So I can just use 2 Obliterates back to back and do, you know, anywhere from 220k or 240k in 2 globals. It's pretty ridiculous. If I get 181k Obliterates, I can do 2 to 3 back to back and just global someone 100-0 in 3 globals. Very, very filthy. 100% can kill somebody in just 1 stun, which is what makes Frost Death Knight so appealing and so beautiful as a class in general. This class is just such a blast to play, and I hope you guys enjoy my burst rotation. But moving into setup play and how to play in setups, I'm going to tell you guys kind of how to break that down too. While we're at it, might as well. So the ideal goal for bursting as a Death Knight is you're going to have a focus target. So say this Cleave Training Dummy, and this is going to be our main target here. Basically pretend that the Cleave Training Dummy is a healer, for instance. And now what I'll do during my burst setups is I plan to get procs. That's important. So I get, you know, Howling Blast proc maybe, or I'll spend it to get my Razor Ice up. As long as I get Razor Ice up, I know I'm pretty good. Sometimes I don't even need Razor Ice. It's just nice extra damage to have. So I'll get my Razor Ice up pretty good. And when I plan on bursting, ideally I'd want to have a decent amount of Runic Power banked. And the reason being is every single time I Frost Strike, I get an Obliterate proc, okay? So it just works really well together. So we're going to have a decent amount of Runic Power built up. I'm going to press Remorseless Winter, and Remorseless Winter A-Bomb Limb first, and I'll focus Death Grip my target into me, and then I'll Frostworm Fury over them. Now what that does is it's going to stun both my main target and the healer in my damage there. So while they're in that, I'll be using my Pillar of Frost, which will then hit 2 targets. I'll get 8% mastery because of our Frostwhelp's aid from each of them. So I get 16% mastery at least, minimum. And then I just start teeing off with Obliterates, Howling Blast, and Frost Strike, depending on which one procs. Now, like I said, every single time I Frost Strike, it should be followed by an Obliterate. I should never, during burst, never Frost Strike twice in a row. If I Frost Strike twice in a row, I'm not doing ideal damage during my burst window. Unless, I guess, you really want to stack up your Obliterate, your Killing Machine procs twice. But realistically, you have a kind of a tight window. It's only a 12-second burst, so you have to get off as many Obliterates as possible during your burst. If you're not, again, you're not really utilizing it as best as you really can. Something important to note, too, is right before my Pillar of Frost ends, I like to Chill Streak, and the reason being is that's when I'll have the most strength, because every single rune I spend during Pillar of Frost increases my strength. Obviously, at the end of the Pillar of Frost, I'll have peak strength, and then I'll Chill Streak. And most of the time, the Chill Streak will hit for anywhere from like 50 to 60k. Sometimes you can start off your burst with the Chill Streak because it'll keep 2 targets next to each other, which is really nice. But if you're really close to killing somebody, your Chill Streak could just bounce off like a target 3 times and just insta-kill them, which is really nice. It depends, though. It depends on the situation. Depends on what you're fighting. If you're fighting like a Mistweaver Monk, you're going to want to Chill Streak immediately during your burst because they can get out super easily. So you're going to want to trap them there, and in that time they're trapped, like do as much damage as possible. Just rain it into them, you know? Which is super important. Now, something to note, if they don't trinket your Frostworm Fury, know that your Remorseless Winter is going to stun them shortly after. So you'll Frostworm Fury, and that'll be 3 seconds of a stun. They'll get out of the 3-second stun and be either a Remorseless Winter stunned, which is right here. Now, that means that my Remorseless Winter has to deal damage 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it ticks immediately. Lasts 4 seconds. Super good. No, it'll only last 2 seconds after our Frostworm Fury. So realistically, it's 5 seconds of stun. Now, a lot of people will trinket the Froststorm Fury. If they do, they're 100% dead the next go, like 90% of the time. Unless if they have something like a bubble or a disperse or something like that that can save them while they're stunned. But if it's something like a shaman and they trinket in astral shift, you could just immediately stop doing your burst, or you can even try to kill them through because your damage is so high. But you can immediately stop and just hyper turtle, and when you hyper turtle up, you just wait that minute, and then that minute comes along and you set up on them and they have no trinket and they have no astral shift. You just 100 to owe them in that. I can promise you, every minute you can 100 to owe somebody, and you can 100 to owe anybody the second they don't trinket. If they don't trinket, you're doing a massive amount of damage to them. If you can't force a trinket with your burst, most likely that's because they're either peeling really well or you're not doing your burst properly. And if you're not doing your burst properly, I suggest, you just go back to hitting a training dummy for a little bit. But realistically, it's super important that you're doing your burst windows properly because you will force something guaranteed every single time you burst. Again, just to show you guys, Remorseless Winter, you A-bomb limb, you grip in your second target, Froststorm's Fury, pop your cooldowns, massive damage here. And no, this is going to be in a Death and Decay. You're going to want to cleave everybody here. So again, you're going to be cleaving everybody for all these obliterates that hit for 160, 150k back to back. Just disgusting damage. Another thing to note, if they trinket during your burst window, or they trinket the Remorseless Winter stun instead of the Froststorm Fury stun, you can silence out. If they don't trinket that, if they don't trinket the Remorseless Winter stun, they live for that 5 seconds, which is crazy long time. Say they have a massive good peel. Then we can strangulate them. If they trinket strangulate, then we blinding sleet them. If they don't trinket strangulate, you still blinding sleet them after anyways. You're basically just keeping them CC'd for as long as possible without them having a choice but to sit it. And by doing this, you're just massive amount of pressure. It's super scary for people. And again, like I said, every single minute, you're doing big damage, okay? Massive damage. This is why I play Badge. I think Badge is super good. It lines up with Pillar really well. So yeah, that's basically how we do our burst windows. You just want to be making sure you're getting your stacks of Razor Ice up on your second go. Your first go doesn't need the Razor Ice. You can most of the time walk in, pop a Death and Decay, and grip into your Death and Decay, Blinding Sleet, or whatever, and go. But your second one, you should 100% try to maintain these stacks of Razor Ice, because that 15% increased damage is actually really crucial to you getting a kill. It's pretty important, and it can do a significant amount less damage if you don't have Razor Ice stacked on your target. Again, because we play two-handed and we play Rune of the Fallen Crusader, this is the only way we're getting Razor Ice on a target, is through our Howling Blast procs. So super crucial. Just spam out your obliterates, get as many Howling Blast procs as possible, and spam them away. Get that Razor Ice up, start doing filthy damage. And obviously, there is some games where you're going to go for a burst, you're going to go to Death Grip, and the healer's just going to be sitting line of sight, and you're not going to be able to get it. That's okay, guys. Just send it, dude. You can't wait forever for the perfect opportunity, because if you wait forever for the perfect opportunity, it's never going to come, and you're going to just be waiting there, and you're just going to be doing nothing, no damage. You have to burst as Frost DK. If you don't get your burst windows out as Frost DK, you're not doing anything, I promise you. Frost DK is like regular damage outside of burst is very low, very minimal. No, Frost Strike itself hits okay. It's not bad. But realistically, our damage is just significantly lower outside of burst. So outside of your 1 minute burst cooldowns, say they live all that, say they live everything, you immediately just hyper turtle. You're going to just sit on a pillar and just wait. You just wait, you live, you spam Chains of Ice, you spam Death Strikes to live. You're going to be using Frost Strike every now and then to force a little bit of damage here and there, but most of the time outside of your burst windows, you're probably going to be using Death Strike just to be pumping extra healing, so your healer doesn't have to waste mana on healing you as much. So you want to Death Strike as much as possible. Also, Death Strike heals for quite a bit. It's 11% of your health, or 10% of your health minimum. So 10% of your health minimum is actually pretty crucial. And if you're playing the AoE build, you'll have Sack Pack, and having Sack Pack is really good. You can just use this in between your goes, and it'll keep you alive for an extra long period of time. Say you're low in health, and you're like, oh, I can't Death Strike because a warrior has parry up or something like that. That's where Sack Pack comes in handy. You can Sack Pack and instantly heal yourself for 25% of your health. which happens to be quite a bit, seeing we have 400k, almost 500k health. With Fort Buff, we have over 500k health. So with Sack Pack, you're going to be healing for easily over 150k. It's pretty disgusting. So that's crucial. Another really crucial thing to surviving outside of our goes is when we Lichborn, we become undead when we Lichborn. Note to self. So if you have runic power and somebody, for instance, has died by the sword up or bubble and you can't death strike them because it won't heal you, you can Lichborn yourself and spam death coil on yourself. I'll show you guys here. You can spam death coil and you see how much it's healing me for? Crazy, right? So you can actually death coil yourself to heal yourself for a ridiculous amount of damage. So you're like, oh no, you know, they're popping up, they're doing big damage here. No, we just death coil ourselves with Lichborn, call it a day. You know, pretty good. So really good tip there. Pay attention to that. If you're getting trained, they have a cooldown up and you can't death strike, don't think you're out of it yet, dude. You can Lichborn and death coil yourself. Super important, guys. So getting into our statistics, our stat points for our beautiful Frost Death Knights here, we're going to be focusing on versatility and then mastery. Now you'll know I take pretty much everything versus mastery as possible. I do take let's see here, the gloves are not set bonus because they're verse mastery. Everything else I take as a set piece because that 4-piece is just too disgusting to not take. I do take verse mastery neck. I take verse mastery cloak. I take the Drake Breakers upgraded bracers because that's verse mastery. I don't take any verse mastery belt because there is no verse mastery belt as far as I'm aware. But we just stack up as much versatility as possible anyways. I do take the Infurious War Boots of Impunity. This is basically a gladiator piece that makes our CC reduction reduced by an additional 5%. And it's also verse mastery. I do take the Honor verse mastery ring. Now, the breakdown of this is if I take off my Honor ring, for instance here, I lose 4% mastery, right? Now, if I take the Haste Versatility Conquest ring, I may gain 2% versatility and, like, I don't know, say 4% haste, but I'm losing out on that 4% mastery, and which means my obliterates are going to hit 2% less hard because I'm only gaining 2% versatility from the ring, so I'm only doing 2% more damage. So I actually prefer to take the Honor ring, which is kind of silly. Obviously, I'm going to have to play around with it a little bit because haste isn't the worst thing for Frost Death Knight because the more auto attacks you get, the more killing machine procs you get, and obviously killing machine procs are what makes us actually do real damage because outside of killing machine procs, we basically hit like a wet noodle. But yeah, that's basically it. We take the badge and we take normal trinket, pretty standard stuff here. The badge I like. I think versus certain comps I may play the Battlemaster trinket just because Death Knight can be a little squishy versus like warriors, like physical damage classes. So I might mess around with that, but realistically the badge makes me do so much damage during my burst windows and it lines up with Pillar of Frost perfectly. So can't hate that, you know what I mean? But that's our stats. Moving into our macros here. Pretty simple macros, nothing crazy for Frost. Unholy has way more macros because they have pets, and you have to control the pets and everything like that. But something really important, you know, you're gonna want this heal macro for your Sacrificial Pact. If you do play Sac Pact, that is. And what it is basically it has cast Raise Dead and cast Sacrificial Pact. Now, Raise Dead is on global, but Sacrificial Pact is not on global. So you can raise your undead ghoul, and by pressing this button, you raise it and instantly kill it. And so in one button press, you're immediately healing yourself for 25% of your health instead of clicking Raise Dead and then clicking Sacrificial Pact on a separate keybind. That delay in between those, not good. You're just going to want to press this button and instantly heal. Also, because your ghoul as Frost does nothing. It literally does nothing. There's no reason for it. So you might as well macro them together and just instantly kill the ghoul. And that way they share cooldowns. 2-minute cooldown, 25% HP heal. Pretty simple stuff there. That's very simple, actually. Moving into our burst macro. Now, this looks crazy clustered, but that's because I used to play Unholy, and when I played Frost for a long time, like a long time ago, I used to play Breath of Sindragosa. Basically, I track Empower Rune Weapon by doing a show tooltip, which is like hashtag show tooltip space Empower Rune Weapon. And basically, that tracks my cooldown for Empower Rune Weapon. We get Blood Fury because I'm an orc. I do cast... So basically, I cast Blood Fury, I have cast Pillar of Frost, and I have cast Empower Rune Weapon. and I have /use Crimson Gladiator's Badge of Ferocity. So when I press this button, just this one button, because they're all off global, you can see here, these aren't going on global, neither is Empower Rune Weapon. When I press that button, I immediately Pillar of Frost, I immediately Blood Fury, I immediately Empower Rune Weapon, and I basically, what in old terms of WoW players call, I Swifty Macro, Burst, Big Damn. With this one button press, I just press everything and just smack people, do stupid amount of damage, which is really great. Burst Macro is super important. Nothing else really applies to Frost Death Knight for single target macros, but going into focus macros, we have quite a few. We have our Focus Death Grip. Now, Focus Death Grip is cast. You just cast parentheses at focus parentheses Death Grip. And so say I'm fighting my main target here, and I have a focus over here, I can Death Grip them without targeting them at all. Super, super important for you to be able to do that. If you can't do that, you really need to learn how to, because focus death gripping somebody catches them way off guard. You start to burst on them. They have no clue what to do. They panic. If they get stunned, they immediately trinket. You know, people freak out when they get focus death grip because, you know, they see you attacking one target and then all of a sudden you're on top of them attacking them. Super, super important. It's almost like focus charge for a warrior. Also really important, but people don't realize it, how important that ability is. So focus death grip, super important. We have focus asphyxiate. This is the same thing. Cast parentheses at focus end parentheses. Asphyxiate. And basically what asphyxiate does, is it's just a ranged stun. So if I'm attacking one target here, and I'm like, oh man, that guy's casting, I need to, you know, stop him. Or, oh man, he's about to kill my teammate and I need to stop him. I just, you know, focus stun him. He's stunned up while I'm attacking my target still. Beautiful. No worry at all. We also have focus mind freeze. Now this is just basically our focus kick. You know, something simple. Every class basically has a kick now at this point, but you know, we're just attacking our main target. This guy starts to cast a polymorph, so I focus kick him here. Boom, brilliant, great. Never had to swap targets or anything. Oh, he's casting again. That's where we move into our focus strangulate, baby. Cast parentheses at focus parentheses strangulate. Beautiful. So I'm just attacking this guy. This guy starts attacking me. Nah, psych. Focus strangulate, baby. Now he can't cast anything. Oh, it's done. Focus death grip, baby. They can't do anything. I'm controlling the entire game myself, baby, and that's what I like to see. You know what I'm saying? So, guys, get these focus macros if you want to be pushing fatty rating, okay? I'm telling you, it is worth it for Frost Death Knights to get these macros. Mainly focus kick, focus death grip. The focus kick and focus death grip are super, super important. Focus strangulate and focus asphyxiate are secondary, but they're super, super good, guys. If you have the keybinds for it, please press them. Make it, dude. Get a gaming mouse or something, but crazy good. I hope you guys enjoyed this guide on how to play Frost Death Knight. I'm going to show you guys some clips of me playing some Frost Death Knight in some arenas, maybe some solo shuffles too, but I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Peace. I grip both here. I can stun them off. Are you ready?
Yeah.
I have so much damage here, honestly. Silence to it out too. Priest could die. Priest could die. Oh my god, that was so close. It's all
First aid for broke side dude. I'm gonna get out of this.
Yo, big damage here? Is that possible? Yeah, huge damage. Yeah, I killed Priest. I stunned Druid here. I killed the Rogue. Okay, stun the Rogue. I can grip him up here. Alright, I'm gonna grip the Priest then and go here. Ready? Big damage. It's okay. I got kill Priest. I killed Priest. Alrighty guys, that is going to do it for my Frost Death Knight PvP guide. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Also, check out this sick new PvP illusion enchant that they added in 10.0.7. You get this for being 2.1. It's super sick. Definitely get your rating up there, guys, in some solo shuffles at least, just to grab that, 'cause it's a pretty cool enchant. I'm a fan. So, yeah. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to comment below. Tell me any tips that you guys have thought of. I'm sure open to ideas. I just started playing Death Knight, honestly, this expansion. Mainly, I'm normally an Elemental Shaman, so if you enjoy playing Elemental Shaman, be sure to check out my other videos. I have a bunch of guides, also just content in general. So please feel free to like, subscribe, and again, comment below with any questions or concerns you guys may have. I would love to hear back from you guys. I respond to all the comments within probably about 24 hours, I would say. On average, definitely within that. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and best of luck in this patch. I will be making more content soon for Frost DK and Elemental Shaman, but if you guys enjoyed the Frost DK content, please feel free to let me know below, and I'll juice it up for you guys. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.